In the news tonight, daily COVID cases still high. New Zealand ready to assist hospitals. And Fijian pasta wins Best Chef of Australia. Good evening, I'm Geraldine, but first tonight we start off with some good news for all rugby fans. FBC has secured the exclusive free-to-air rights to broadcast the second rugby test between Fiji and the All Blacks that will be played this Saturday. The game will be on FBC TV and FBC Sports from 7:05 p.m. We will have more details in our bulletin tomorrow. The Ministry of Health and Medical Services has confirmed 647 new cases of COVID-19 and one death in the 24-hour period as at 8 a.m. yesterday. There has been a spike in the public rental board property in Mead Road, Nambua, with 11 new cases, while the Fiji military has reported 15 new infections. According to the Ministry of Health, the majority of new cases were picked up at health centres and screening clinics around the country. The Raiwanga Health Centre with 46 cases was the highest, followed by Valalevu Health Centre with 38, while the Nausori Health Centre received 32 people positive for COVID-19. The Samambula Health Centre had 28 cases recorded. The latest COVID-19 fatality is a 58-year-old man from Delai Valalevu in Nasinu who died at home. The Health Ministry confirms his family reported that he had been feeling unwell for 1 week. The deceased had received his first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine in mid-June, but had not received the second dose, meaning he was not fully vaccinated. There has been one more death of a COVID-19 positive patient, but this has been classified as non-COVID related. Medical experts have determined that this death was caused by a serious pre-existing medical condition. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is ready to provide support to Fiji to contain the widespread transmission of COVID-19. Ardern has ordered her Foreign Affairs Minister to liaise with Fiji in terms of the required assistance. Kritika Kumar reports.
New Zealand is standing by Fiji in the current difficult times.
What I've asked the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade to do is to reach out again to Fiji and just ask about specific medical equipment and whether or not there are needs there that we can help supply and provide for what I know are very overburdened hospital and health facilities.
Ardern says she feels for Fiji and her situation.
What is happening in Fiji is devastating, and it's happening within our region.
The New Zealand Health Minister says they are trying their level best to assist Fiji in whatever way possible.
And Fiji is, it is a crisis there, and we are doing everything we can.
Ardern had earlier highlighted that they are ready to offer support and advice through their experience to help in the containment of the COVID-19. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
We now join Felipe Naikaso live. Felipe has been following the developments in the West, including new cases. Good evening, Felipe. What more can you tell us tonight?
Geraldine, more than 30 COVID-19 cases have been recorded in Lautoka City, and so far 3 communities have been put on lockdown by the authorities, namely Vakatoro Housing, the PRB flats in Tokomanga, and just today, in the early hours of this morning, Sawini Top was put on lockdown. A few flats had been cordoned off by the medical authorities. Earlier in the week, even a police station at the Lautoka police, even some of the police officers rather at the Lautoka police station have gone into isolation after authorities had confirmed a COVID-19 positive case at the station along Drassa Avenue earlier this week. So basically, this is what the Ministry of Health had been stressing from their previous press conferences, is that people should be expecting these cases to be emerging, as what they've stated is that the virus can be anywhere at any time. So, however, they continue to stress to Fijians to continue following the COVID-19 protocols and to get vaccinated if possible.
Thank you, Felipe. From cooking Fiji-style dal and rice to Indian chicken tacos and chicken curry, the MasterChef Australia 13 winner Justin Narayan impressed the judges and viewers with several dishes which had a Fijian touch to it. According to Narayan, his Fijian heritage had greatly influenced him in earning the title of Australia MasterChef. He has also made famous the Fijian dal and rice, and the pasta is now a world-renowned champion chef. Kritika Kumar reports.
Justin Narayan says his mother, who hails from Nandi, is among his best inspirations and the best cook he knows.
To my parents, there are definitely moments along the way where this guy gave me a scare or two, but he's here now, and I'm very grateful for everything you guys have sacrificed and given to me to be here, to have these opportunities, and I love you very much, and thank you.
With his passion, Narayan constantly impressed the judges. He was also one of the favorites to win MasterChef Australia. He even did dal and rice as one of his dishes during the season.
I feel incredibly honoured and humbled to have that title and to be able to win this competition. I'm genuinely going to take a week to process this and let it sink in, and then I'll write you an email, let you know how I feel.
Narayan would like to have a food truck or a restaurant of his own, which will feature Indian flavors that he grew up eating. He walked away with 250,000 Australian dollars as his prize. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
And to our latest COVID-19 update. Fiji's new COVID-19 infections soared again, with 647 cases recorded for the period ending at 8 a.m. yesterday. The Health Ministry also recorded one more death. Fiji has recorded 11,962 cases since April of this year. There are now 9,725 active cases in isolation, with 2,221 recoveries in total. The COVID-19 death toll now stands at 59. The vaccination campaign also continues around the country. As of yesterday, 370,216 people, or 63.1% of the population, has received the first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine. 70,917 people, or 12.1%, have received their second dose. The 5 most vaccinated areas include Mba, Lautoka, Suva, the Narongga province, and Nausori. Up ahead, Nandi villages to undergo lockdown, and anti-vaxxers ignored by northerners. Four villages in Sambeto will be going on a 14-day lockdown from tonight. The decision was made after the Vanua of Sambeto recorded their first positive case on Monday. Felipe Naikaso with the details.
The Vanua of Sambeto is not taking any chances following the positive case from the village, and they're hoping villagers strictly abide by the lockdown protocols.
We have been talking to the villagers on what they can do and cannot do. This is being done to ensure the virus doesn't spread further.
The villages that will be in lockdown are Koroyava, Narokorokoyawa, Natalau and Mbotini. Since the confirmed case, around 40 people have been identified as primary contacts by the Ministry of Health, and they have been taken into quarantine facilities.
The lockdown regulations will include 24-hour checkpoints, no loitering, and exchange of goods will be done at the checkpoints.
The decision to have the lockdown was made after consultation with the villagers, and time was also given for people to prepare.
From yesterday until this afternoon, we have done some our food items preparation, the main things like our groceries, and I think this 14 days lockdown, it is very good for the people of Sambeto.
There's also a number of villages in Sambeto that are under home isolation as their secondary contacts. Swab tests were also done at the villages. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
More Fijians in Vanua Levu are ignoring anti-vaccination talks and overcoming their fears of the COVID-19 vaccine. After a rigorous vaccination consultation to date, 45,400 Fijians in the north have completed their first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine, and 5,774 have gotten their second dose. Eleanor Turangaivu has more.
The Ministry of Health's COVID-19 vaccination is now being taken to the doorsteps of Fijians in the far rural and remote areas of Vanuatu.
The decision to vaccinate depends on each of us. For me, this is for our well-being. I want to protect myself and those I live with.
Over 50% of eligible Fijians in Vanuatu have received their first dose of the vaccine, and 5.8% have had their second dose.
I plead with fellow Fijians to come forward and get vaccinated. Do not listen to rumors. Let us help government get back on its feet.
In Boer, vaccination numbers have increased, with over 4,000 having had their first dose and 402 their second dose.
We do not have powers to force them to get vaccinated. As the district representative, I only pass on the message. The decision is theirs.
For the Kaunrawe, the numbers are increasing slowly, with a little over 8,000 having administered their first dose and close to 2,000 their second dose.
We had a meeting at work about the vaccination, and there were a lot of issues we asked about the vaccine. I am glad that happened, because now I have had my first jab.
Overall, 52% of the eligible population in the north have had their first dose, and 6.6% are now fully vaccinated after receiving their second dose of the vaccine. Eleanor Turangibio, FBC News.
The escalating number of COVID-19 cases has forced more villages along the King's Road to impose restrictions to keep the infection at bay. The self-imposed restrictions in the villages between Navua and Lautoka include a ban on entry of any outsider and unnecessary movement within the village. Lebanese settlement in Serua is one of the villages which has imposed these restrictions since April this year. Kritika Kumar reports.
Village elder Vundraulo Rima says the villages are following the rules which have been set.
You're thinking about that the life only one, eh? One is only one life. When the life is gone, eh? You can get your life again. Eh? So we have to protect our village so that we can go through the...
He adds villagers are taking turns to man the lockdown.
Every day we take the section group, eh? All this side here and beside the road. So this gang here beside the church, eh? Step by step, eh? Till 1 week.
Matakandawa village in Serua has also imposed self-lockdown. Villager Elatia Raitini says they are taking all the precautionary measures to ensure none in the village is infected.
Accordingly, checking the people coming in the village, checking the temperature, writing down their names, where they came, and phone numbers.
Apart from these two villages, there are other areas such as Ngaloa and Korovisalau where restrictions have been implemented. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Coming up in world news, US fires burn on. And later in sports, English footballer is out at MP. Vision Fintech has launched MoneyGram money transfer services to the public from July 1st. The company had incorporated a fully owned subsidiary, Vision Fintech Services Limited. Vision Fintech had obtained a restricted foreign exchange dealer license from the Reserve Bank in May. This is pursuant to Vision Fintech being appointed as a super agent of MoneyGram International. The MoneyGram money transfer services will be initially offered through selected Quartz outlets. It intends to introduce and launch in digital financial services products in phased stages. Chinese exports grew much faster than expected in June, and easing lockdowns helped drive a rise in demand.
China's exports are surging. Overseas shipments rose much faster than expected in June, as easing lockdown measures helped lift global demand. Numbers out Tuesday showed exports up 32.2% on the year. That's higher than May's figure and way ahead of analyst forecasts. The gains come despite several headwinds. China has been battling the global shortage of chips, logistics bottlenecks and higher raw material and freight costs. But on Tuesday, a Customs Administration spokesperson sounded optimistic.
疫情走势错综复杂。
Li Kuei-wen said exports should keep growing in the second half for all the uncertainties over the global health crisis. June also saw Chinese imports jump, and there is concern that inflation could arrive with them. That as prices for commodities like coal, steel, iron ore and copper surge. But officials say that, for now at least, inflation risks look manageable.
Here are the local exchange rates as set early this morning. The Fijian dollar had a mixed day today as it lost ground against the Chinese yen, US greenback, PNG kina and the Japanese yen. It gained versus our two major trading partners, the Aussie and the Kiwi dollars, as well as the euro. Onto the commodities market, crude oil rose to end at $74 a barrel. Gold rose a few dollars to close at $1,812 per ounce, and silver dropped to 26.09 an ounce. The Navutu Bridge in Lautoka will be temporarily closed to carry out resurfacing work. The bridge along Navutu Road will be closed from 8 p.m. on Friday till 4 a.m. on Monday. Fiji Roads Authority Acting Chief Executive Kamal Prasad says this is a planned closure that will allow its contractors to carry out resurfacing of the bridge deck and approaches. Prasad says this time access will be prohibited and detour routes will be available via Queens Road and the new Nandovu Road. Road closure advisory signs will be posted in advance and traffic controllers will be available to direct motorists on the detour routes. But coming up after the break, find out what does EU's climate master plan entail. The EU has a climate master plan to cut emissions drastically over the next decade, called Fit for 55.
The EU has a climate master plan to cut emissions drastically over the next decade. It's called Fit for 55, a fitting name for the bloc's goal to slash 55% of its greenhouse gas emissions by 2030.
The race starts now. The 2020s is the make or break decade. And that's why Europe has committed to reduce our emissions by at least 55% by 2030 compared to 1990 levels.
Here's what it looks like. The European Commission will propose 12 policies targeting energy, industry, transport and the heating of buildings. The list of proposals is long. Tougher EU CO2 emissions for cars could effectively ban sales of new petrol and diesel cars in 2035. EU countries will face more ambitious targets for expanding renewable energy. The measures aim to encourage companies and consumers to choose greener options. For example, a leaked draft of one proposal would tax polluting jet fuel for the first time and give low-carbon aviation fuels a 10-year tax holiday. A revamp of the EU carbon market is also expected to hike CO2 costs for industry, power plants and airlines, and force ships to pay for their pollution. Brussels will also announce the details of its world-first carbon border tariff, targeting imports of goods produced abroad with high emissions, such as steel and cement. That has unnerved EU trading partners, including Russia and China. The political road ahead will likely be rough as EU countries and the European Parliament negotiate the proposals. Already, the plans have exposed familiar rifts between richer Western and Nordic EU states, where electric vehicle sales are soaring, and poorer Eastern countries that are worried about the social cost of weaning their economies off coal. Policymakers are also braced for a storm of industry lobbying.
Well, let us never forget what the cost of non-action would be.
Some of Europe's steel and cement sectors due to be covered by the carbon border tariff have said they don't want to be included. Brussels says it's time to take Europe's climate policies global. The World First package would also push EU industry to invest in expensive green technologies, giving European firms a competitive edge in global markets, and burnish the EU's global climate leadership position.
The end of a harvest is usually time for celebration for cane farmers and normally involves food and grog. But for a particular farmer in Seanganga, it was a different kind of celebration. Eleanor Turangaivu reports.
Only into his third year as a cane farmer, William Elawabau is not new to the field, having grown up in the cane farming community of Natua.
I'm a new farmer. Well, my dad was doing that for probably more than 30 years. And he transferred the farm under my name.
Lawabau is one of the first few farmers to have harvested his crop this season. With the help of his extended family, he has harvested close to 200 tons of cane.
I'm very happy that my cane is finished only in 3 weeks. And I have reached nearly 200 tons. And I believe that I'm going to plant more for this year, for the harvest next year.
After the loading of the last cane truck, the farmer and his cane cutters usually hold what is known in the cane farming community as a jandi. For Lawabau, the jandi was in the form of a Thanksgiving service.
To thank the Almighty God for His faithfulness, for harvesting our cane this year. He has given us good weather, good sunshine, and also good people.
With the country going through uncertain times, Lawabau and his family is praying for better days ahead and a fruitful harvest next season. Eleanor Turangaivu, FBC News.
The Crown has tied with The Mandalorian for the most Emmy nominations with 24 apiece. The nominations announced this morning reinforce the rapid rise of streaming, with the top nominated scripted shows on services that largely emerged in the past 2 years.
Lots of Emmy love for The Crown, which earned 24 nominations this year, including 1 for Best Drama. The Netflix series about the British monarchy also picked up acting nods for Emma Corrin, who plays Princess Diana, and Olivia Colman, who plays Queen Elizabeth.
This you must determine.
It tied The Mandalorian for the most nominations. The Disney Plus series is part of the Star Wars franchise. Bridgerton also scored a Best Drama Series nomination, as well as a Best Actor nod for Regé Jean Page, who will not be returning to the runaway Netflix hit. Rounding out the Best Drama Series nominees are The Boys, The Handmaid's Tale, Lovecraft Country, Pose, and This Is Us.
Next, we have the nominees for
This Is Us Emmy winner Ron Cephas Jones and his daughter Emmy winner Jasmine Cephas Jones announced the list of nominees.
In a couple of months, a bunch of today's nominees will get their very own Emmy to humble brag about.
Apple TV's Ted Lasso earned a nomination for Best Comedy, along with a nod for star Jason Sudeikis, who plays an American football coach in charge of an English soccer team. It will compete against Blackish, Cobra Kai, Emily in Paris, The Flight Attendant, Hacks, The Kaminsky Method, and Pen 15.
I don't mind it.
The Queen's Gambit and The Underground Railroad are among the nominees for Best Miniseries. Cedric the Entertainer will host the ceremony live on CBS in September.
And ahead in sports, Flying Fijians plan for another surprise. And Baum Bullet set for this showdown. This and more coming up. There's good news for the Flying Fijians as Frank Lomani finally joined the team today. Lomani, Moses Sorovi and Tetitela are expected to be named in the matchday 23 for the second test against the All Blacks. While head coach Kota is relieved, the question is now, how can they go a step further on Saturday? The Olympics will start next Friday and Team Fiji is counting down to the biggest sporting event in the world. For the Fijiana Sevens side, they have been blessed to train under great weather and quality facilities. Coach Sayasi Fuli says the challenge now is to go out and do what they have been practicing. Rugby Sevens will kick off on July 26th with the men's competition.
Okay and settle well here in Oita. The weather is fine. It's a bit warm, just like in Fiji. The girls are responding well to the weather, and we've acclimatized ourselves well with what's being offered in Japan.
Pacific Sprint King Manuve Tambakaudoro has stepped up his preparations for his second Olympic Games. The former Maris Brothers High School student wants to do better after getting another chance to represent Fiji. Caroline Tavi reports.
For many athletes like Manuve Tambakaudoro, the lack of competition due to the pandemic hasn't hindered their spirits.
The lack of competitions that we've had for the past year, I don't really blame anybody. Lockdowns in Australia and stuff really messed with the programs and stuff. But you know, I'm not the only one that suffered. You know, all the other sports suffered as well. So I guess we're all in this together.
The Mbao Bullet knows the task that awaits him in Tokyo in one of the most competitive events on the track.
I think the end goal right now is just to get out here and do my best. That's always been my goal in every competition that I go to. Doesn't matter if it's a regional meet or if it's a meet back home or even out here at the Olympics. So I'm just here to do my best and always put my best foot forward every time for Fiji.
All Team Fiji athletes have a common goal, and that is to make their country proud.
Where the athletes are now is basically through their focus, their determination, and their with the goal at the end that they will represent their country well at these Olympic Games.
The Olympic Games will begin on July 23rd. Carlini Tavi, FBC Sports.
The Wallabies Test series against France will be decided in Brisbane after a 28-26 win by the French last night. A 78th minute penalty strike secured France's first win over the Wallabies on Australian soil in 31 years. Here is the action. England footballer Tyrone Mings has called out UK Home Secretary Priti Patel for accusing the England national team of engaging in gesture politics, only to then say she'd been disgusted by the online racist abuse directed at 3 players. Mings' England teammates Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho and Bukayo Saka were targeted on social media after they missed penalties in the 3-2 shootout Euro 2020 final defeat to Italy. Dragon star Josh Maguire has opened up about the infamous COVID breach party at sacked teammate Paul Vaughan's house that shook up the NRL. Maguire says at the time that his and his teammates' actions would result in a massive fallout that has ensued, but admitted that he has no one to blame but themselves. Marika Koroimbete had 2 tries disallowed in the loss against France last night. However, while this one was denied through no fault of his, it was a spectacular run. In our quirky sport of the day, have you ever wondered what it feels like being inside a giant ball and just rolling? This is what zorbing is all about. Check it out. Coming up, we will have the very latest in the weather for you. Details after the break. Fine weather prevailed over most parts of the country today. In the west, mostly cloudy and some rain and thunderstorms were experienced. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, a mixture of sun and clouds with brief showers in the late afternoon. Up north, mainly clear and humid conditions. And at sea, moderate to fresh east to southeast winds with moderate to rough seas. Turning to the tides, the next high tide is at 10:04 p.m. with the low tide at 3:44 a.m. tomorrow morning. Sunrise will be at 6:38 a.m. For tomorrow, some showers over the eastern and interior of the larger islands with cool nights. And the outlook for Friday is generally fine conditions expected over most parts of the country. Gab Boys from Montreal reimagines everyday objects like food, clothing and plants as art pieces with entirely new functions. The visual artist has turned a beanie into a cereal bowl. Recapping our main stories. Daily COVID cases still high. Fijian pastor wins Best Chef of Australia. And Frank Lomani joins Flying Fijians. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station Gold FM. And to our poll question. This week we are asking, do you agree with the no jab, no job policy? Visit our website to take part. Send us newsworthy pictures and videos by emailing fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news for this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Modamanda and stay safe.